Okay class, so I have airdropped all of my images to myself. It comes over here as this series of images. Make sure you export your frames as images instead of exporting an MP4. This will allow you to have enough control to actually move or modify any frames that you want once you get this into our compiling software. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do this with Photoshop. You can compile this any way you want, but it's just my favorite way to do it, so that's how I'll show you. So, first thing you'll need to do is pull this out of your downloads folder and into your class folder. So I'm going to put this under Project 1 here, and I'll go ahead and open up Photoshop. Okay, so rather than actually clicking anything, starting a new canvas, anything like that, we're going to go straight up to our file here on the top edge, the top left, and we'll go down to Scripts and Load Files into Stack. Once this little flyout panel comes up, you'll need to just find your files. So my files are here in this folder, Dream 2. I will select all of them and hit open. Make sure that they're all in order and hit OK. Okay, so as you can see over here on the right, my files are coming in as layers. Depending on how powerful your computer is, this may take a few minutes, so you can, I don't know, dance around, have some coffee, whatever it is you need. Okay, so I have all of these frames now loaded into Photoshop, and I want to create a looping animation. So down below I have my timeline up and visible. If yours is not visible, just go up to Window and down to Timeline. Make sure this is checked and your little timeline will appear. Next, click this button which says Create Frame Animation, and one frame will populate automatically. However, I actually want all of these layers to be frames, so I'll go over here to these 3 horizontal lines and I will say Make Frames from Layers. Alright, so now I have this loop. So I want this, it's looping okay, and that's pretty fun, but I want it to loop a little bit more naturally, and also if the dance that you have isn't this, you know, I don't remember the name of this dance, but if it's not this sort of 70s like pointing thing, you may not get a loop just sort of automatically like this. So what we're actually going to do is copy and reverse frames. So I'm going to highlight my second frame, hit Shift and highlight my second to last frame. And then I'm going to go back to my 3 horizontal lines and I'm going to say Copy Frames. Then I will click on my very last frame and go back to these 3 horizontal lines and Paste Frames. You'll get this option here that says, it has a couple options. You can replace frames, paste over selection, paste before selection. I want to paste after selection, so I'm going to hit OK. Alright, and now I want to reverse these frames. So I'll keep my 21st frame highlighted, hit Shift. Oops, it's not letting me do it. So I'll hit my 38th and then hit Shift and my 21st. Go back to these 3 horizontal lines here and hit Reverse Frames. So this may be good enough. Let's see. So I have this little bounce that I don't like. There's a bunch of different solutions to any sort of motion you don't like. Because I have an excess of frames here, I'm just going to delete frames that are not, that I'm not feeling, that I think are creating like a weird motion. You can also sort of rearrange them, but I'm just going to delete anything that I think is sort of bouncing. So I want to check what's happening here. So I'm going down, 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 up, so I'm going to delete that one. Yeah. And delete this next one. And this next one. So what have we got? Down, 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 up, down. So let's get this one out. Okay. All right, I'll delete these two as well. Let's see how that looks. Up, up, up. Down, 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 down. Up, up. Up, up. Oops, now we're going down again. Let's delete that. Down, down, down. Let's see, up. Okay, now I think we got up, up. All right. Up, up. All right, let's see what that looks like. Right, so I really like this loop. My background came out a little bit bright, and if I were being obsessive, I might go knock that down a little bit. But, you know, sometimes it's okay to let things be what they are. Okay, so I decided that the brightness of this whole thing is driving me a little bit insane. So I'm going to do some edits to this to make it just a little bit better. And I want to show you, this is kind of what a post-production edit, because I'm not going to go back to my original files and change those colors individually. I'm going to change my whole, sort of my whole video at once. So to do this, I'm going to make sure that I have my first frame selected, and that I have this button here, Propagate Frame 1, activated. So this means that all the changes I do on this first frame are going to apply to all my frames overall. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add sort of a gradient over the top of this. So I'm going to select over here on my left side my gradient tool. It may look like the paint bucket tool on yours, so just click and hold on either your paint bucket or gradient tool and select gradient. Then at the top you can change your color of your gradient, so they have basics, blues, purples, pinks. I chose green because green is sort of the opposite of pink, and I'm trying to knock this down a little bit, neutralize the color a little bit. And I picked this yellow to green gradient because I think this will kind of make it look like there's a glow coming from the corner of the room or from the rest of the room. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this over the top. And right now, I haven't helped much, right? I just have a block of color on top of everything. What's the point? So I'm going to go back over here to my layers, or my layers panel. I'm going to go to where it says opacity here, and I'm going to drop that way down. So probably like maybe the high 20s. Yeah, maybe the high 20s. So this is already just a lot better, I think, but I'm going to mess around a little bit with my contrast and exposure as well, just to see if I can bring this just a little bit more polished. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So down here on the bottom of your layers panel, you have a couple different buttons here. This one that looks like a circle that's half filled is your adjustment layer button. So if you click on that, you get a bunch of different options here. You can add gradients, colors, patterns, and I'm going to try playing with my exposure. So this overall control here for exposure controls every pixel in your composition. You can either make it completely black or completely white, or darken the whole thing, or lighten the whole thing. I'm going to maybe darken it a little bit. The the thing I'm more interested in is actually offsetting it so that my main character is a little bit more, has a little bit more contrast than my background, than my midtones in particular. So I think this is kind of nice. Let's see. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I think this looks a lot better. And if you kind of doubt yourself and wonder if like the corrections you've made have helped or hurt, you can always just hit these eyeballs over here to toggle off your changes. So this is pretty garish now that I've seen my changes. So that offset's a little bit harsh. Let's bring some of that light back. Okay. So I like this now. I'm going to export this and do it as two different file formats. So I'm going to export both a GIF and a MP4. So the reason I'm doing that is that the MP4 is required for the project one to turn into me for grading. I sometimes need the MP4 as like an example to put into one of my tutorial videos or something like that. But for your classmates in your class discussion, I want you to embed your GIF into the discussion board so everyone can see everything without having to click a link and follow it and so on and so forth. The benefit for you is that you're going to learn how to export different files, different file types, which can be super helpful if you're making your own animations and you're publishing them to different sites, or if you work with somebody who says, actually, I can't work with a GIF, can you please send me an MP4 or something like that. So that's my reasoning there. Let's get into it. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to File, File Export, Save for Web Legacy. All right, this comes up now with my little flyout panel. Just want to make sure everything is as I hoped it would be, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's looping. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller just so it's not quite so obnoxious when we upload it into Canvas. So I'll drop that down to 800. As long as these are linked, both will change at the same time. If you change this to 800 and the bottom one doesn't change, just make sure your links here are connected. So there's a little click here, but there's a little link there. Okay, now I'll hit save. I'm going to call this one Ariana Project 1 iPad. I saved this once before, so I'm going to end up replacing my last one for you. It should just save automatically. And now I'm going to change this to an MP4. So for whatever reason, when Photoshop is rendering the video, it just feels very, very fast to have this no delay. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to select my first frame and my last frame while holding Shift, and change this from no delay to 0.1 seconds. Now I'll go back to File and Export, and I'm going to say Render, Render Video. I'll just check all of this, make sure it's going where you want it, that it has a title with your last name and first name so I know whose it is, and that the document size is 1920 by 1080. Then hit render. Again, I've already done this one, so it's replacing, but for you, you shouldn't have this pop up. And now let's just double check to make sure that we rendered everything that we wanted to, that it came out looking good. Okay. All right, that came out nice. And let's check my GIF. You'll have to check this by opening it with an Internet Explorer of some kind, or Firefox, or Safari, whatever. Okay, I like it. So, all done. You can go ahead and turn this in, and thanks for following along. Have a good day.